Hi, now we're ready to start the second part of our MLA formatting series. How to set the line spacing, the font, and how to include our MLA heading and our title in the text of the page. Remember that previously we covered how to set the margins. So our paper is perfectly set up with its 1-inch margins, and in the header of the page we've got our last name and page number, which we need to have. When we did that, we had to adjust the font in the header. So we highlighted everything and we adjusted the font to be Times New Roman, size 12. Unfortunately, in Word, when you do that in the header, it doesn't carry over to the body of the paper. So now that we're in the body of the paper, you can notice that the font reverted to Calibri size 11 again. However, for MLA formatting, we have to have Times New Roman, size 12. So before we even start typing, we're going to go into the font menu, select Times New Roman, and then select 12. Great, now we have the font set up properly. The next thing that we need to do for MLA formatting is we always need to make sure that the paper is left aligned. That is the normal default setting for Word documents. So unless you've changed anything, it should automatically be left aligned. If for some reason you see one of these other squares highlighted, that means the page is no longer left aligned. So just make sure that this leftmost alignment tab is selected. After the left alignment, the next most important thing is the line spacing. So line spacing is represented by this icon with the up and down arrow and then the 4 lines over each other. If you select that, you want to make sure that you've chosen 2.0. Typically, Word is usually set at 1.0 or 1.15. But we go in here and we select 2.0, and that will make sure that our page is double spaced. So now we've got everything set up, it's time to start typing. The first thing that goes into your paper is an MLA heading, which consists of 4 elements: your name, your professor's name, your course, and the date. So the first thing we're going to type is our name. Hit enter, and then enter the next element, which should be your professor's name. After that, you want to list the course or the class that your paper is for. So I'm going to pretend this is an English paper for freshman comp. Depending on your professor, they may want you to include your section number. And then after that, you want to list the date. MLA is unusual in the sense that it does not want a numerical date. It wants the number of the date, the spelled out name of the month, and then the year in that order. So today is April 13th, so I would write 13 April 2020. Now our heading is perfectly set up. However, I want to bring something to your attention that is a little tricky for students and something they don't always realize. Notice that there seems to be quite a bit of space between each one of these elements. It almost looks a little bit more than double spacing, and that's because it is. I'm going to highlight this right now to show you something. In Word, when you set the spacing, which we've chosen as double spacing, which is correct, it does something else where it adds a little bit of extra space beyond the double spacing every time you hit enter. So because I hit enter after each one of these lines, not only do I have double spacing, but I have a little extra space for every single line. Now we want to correct that because some professors get very frustrated with that. They want to make sure that your paper is done properly. And so there's an easy way to fix it. What you have to do is come back underneath where all these alignment and spacing tabs are. And you see where it says paragraph? There's this little arrow here. When we click on that, it will open up a menu. It shows us our alignment. It shows us that we've chosen line spacing. But notice here under spacing, it says after, and then it has an 8 there. That means it's adding like 8 little points of extra spacing every time we hit enter, and we don't want that. So the solution to that is to simply delete the 8, put in 0, and then hit OK. And if you notice, this is going to shrink down once I do that. So watch this part of the screen when I hit OK. There. Now it's properly double spaced, and we don't have any extra spacing beyond what we need. Now that we have our title, or I'm sorry, our heading in the paper, we move on to the title. So simply hit enter after your heading, And remember that for MLA formatting, titles should always be centered. The way to center your title properly is to come back up to the top of the page where the selections are and click Center Alignment, and that will put your cursor in the middle of the page. You want to center your title this way because no matter how short or how long your title is, as you type, Word will work to make sure that it is perfectly centered. If you use spacing or tabs to try to center your title, it won't be perfectly centered. It will, depending on how long it is, be off kilter, not quite in the middle of the page. So once again, just select Center Alignment and then start typing your title. So I'm creating a pretend title, Essay on American Short Stories. Now I made an error. In MLA titles, small words like on, and, the, to, from are frequently not capitalized. We capitalize all of the major words in titles. So I made a typo, I had to go back and correct it. Now I've got my heading properly spaced, I've got my title, and the MLA title is not bolded or underlined, it's just simply typed. And I'm ready to start the body of my paper. So I just hit enter, and then we're ready to go. Stay tuned and we'll talk about how to format your paragraphs for MLA.